What's going on YouTube? Chris with CBModelworks. Welcome back to the garage. So this is going to be build number 6 for the year. This is the testers, also made by Fujimi I believe. Porsche 911 Turbo from the early 90s. Doesn't actually give a year, just going by reference pictures. So this one's going to be for the Porsche group build, put on by Luka Cee and all the guys at the Scale Model Car Podcast, which I'll tag them down in the description. So as you can see, we got red plastic, but the Mr. Servicer 1000 covers it no problem at all. And I'm sure you all saw the thumbnail, so this is not a surprise. We're painting it yellow. And this is just normal Tamiya, I believe it's LP10 yellow lacquer. I did take a bunch of coats to cover, but it covered well. I was trying to go light because I've had issues with yellow paint and white paint in the past with it running and dripping. So I didn't want to take that chance, so we went nice and light, thinned it out with Mr. Hobby Leveling Thinner, and just took my time on this one, doing light coats. Ended up with no drips, no runs, covered real well. This is now the third coat, I believe. And again, covering well, but I'm taking it really slow. Spraying very light coats, but it's looking pretty good. I did get some nice natural panel lines, but did end up going over those later anyway. I did make one huge mistake later on. Actually two, really. Because none of them are perfect, my builds. Haven't built a perfect one yet. Don't know if or when it'll happen. Hopefully someday. Here we go with coat number 5. So one of the big mistakes I made is I'm doing the body and the mirrors, and I 100% forgot about the trunk lid. I had just enough paint to get 2 coats of paint left on this, and I had 0 paint left over. And I thought that it looked the same, but in the end, when I was putting the trunk lid on, I could tell that it was a little bit different shade. It's a little bit darker shade. Luckily, the spoiler on it gives it some good coverage, so you don't see it as well. Alright, so here we are using the 67 Pro Street Nova stripes again. Used them on that Z3 build that I did, and used the red ones, and I'm using the black ones on this. The only extra decals I put on, the rest are all box stock, just a few. Couple badges, and that's it. There's really not much decal wise on this car. So not bad for 30-year-old decals. They laid down pretty good. I did rip this stripe on the side, and my fix for it is I just cut out a piece of the black stripe, the thicker part, not the thin one, and just laid it on top of it, and it covered perfectly. So, as I said, doing the panel lines, I actually remembered to do it on this car. I probably didn't need to do it on this one, to be honest, but went ahead and did it anyway. For some reason, I always forget to do the panel lines. This is obviously sped up a lot. This took a while to make sure I get everything. Because you gotta do it, and then you look over the car, and then you realize you forgot one, so you gotta do it again, and now you got too much, so you take it off. And so the cleanup part, we got some odorless mineral spirits, which does not mess up the lacquer paint at all. I haven't tried using this stuff on acrylic, so I don't know how it'll react, but On the lacquer stuff, not a problem. As long as you don't, put a giant pool of it on there, I suspect you would be just fine. Little hard to get areas, get the old Q-tips out. All right, clear coat time. Starting again with those hard to reach, easy to forget spots. Again, just a light tacky coat on there. I want to say I did 3 coats on this one. This is the Tester's Wet Look Clear, my usual that I like to decant and use the airbrush with. Thinned out with Mr. Hobby Leveling Thinner. Came out really good this time. Some orange peel, but nice and shiny. So here we go, coat number 2. Spraying a little heavier now. Now that I got a nice sticky base to it. And I'm loving this color. And coat number 3. I found a reference picture of one of these in yellow, and I was like, that has to be how I build it. It looks so good. Something about 911s and bright colors that they look good. At least I think. So you can see we're getting a nice shine on there already. And it is pretty hot out in the garage. Alright, now we're doing black trim. This is not my favorite part. Really not a fan of masking. Took me probably about an hour and a half to mask this car off. And maybe 2 minutes to paint it. It's a necessary evil, I guess, of building cars. I really don't like masking stuff. Luckily, this was a more simple one. All the trims were very well pronounced on this car. Yeah, here we go. I did have to fix that bumper trim. I got a little too much tape in a couple places, and then a little bit of overspray, which I had to fix, but it wasn't a big deal. This is just Tamiya acrylic semi-gloss black. And I'm trying to barely let the paint out on it, so it's drying as it's hitting. It's giving it that nice satin texture. I'm using it on the seats as well, same technique. Because this interior, you'll see in a minute, is just everything's black. It's just black seats, black carpet, black doors, black buttons. Everything's black, just different shades. So I'm trying to use this on the parts that would be leather. And then I'll use different paints on the other parts. Alright, so I want to say this is probably a good week later, if not more. Paint's nice and dry, so doing my bare metal full behind the taillights thing that I like to do. And no, I did not measure it, and yes, that is 100% dumb luck that I cut it to exactly the length that I needed. But I'll take it. As much stuff that can go wrong, I'll take whatever goes my way. Alright, so speaking of the all black interior, since it is all black, I decided to try and bring out some kind of details. So there's some speakers. I don't even know what that is. I don't know if it's a speaker or some kind of door knob or something on there. I'm just trying to bring out some details with some silver. Just because it's kind of plain actually. I think the interior on this one's kind of more functional than fun. It did come out good. Again, I used the Tamiya semi-gloss on the seats and the upper door cards for all the leather bits. I used NATO black for the carpet, and then I used Vallejo black for the lower door cards and some of the plastic bits because it's a little bit different sheen. And you can kind of see my glue fingerprint on the top of the dash because, you know, why would that go right? Everything else on this interior went great, but then I went and got some glue on the top. So that was Mod Podge I was using to do the glass over the gauges. These are disc brakes, the ones that I said look like kind of like records. They did not fit on every single one of them. I had to make the hole bigger. That was, I think, the only fitment issue I had on this car. And this is me trying to get it in there. It's not coming through on camera very well, but you can kind of see the grooves in it where it looks like a record. If my rotors looked like that, I'd be replacing them. So I don't know why they molded them that way. Most of the chassis stuff was kind of off camera a little bit because I had to kind of get it closer to my face so I could see what I was doing. And either my head blocked because for some reason I have this camera in a weird position, or I had to pull it off camera to get it, but it's pretty basic. All right, getting that interior going. It is extremely hot this day that I'm doing this. I think it hit 103 that day. All right, so there's steering wheel. So dash is finished. You can see the Mod Podge is dried up and looks like glass over the gauges. A lot of guys use like the X22 gloss clear, works just as well. I just find the Mod Podge kind of pulls up better and stays in place. But yeah, so there's our finished interior. Very happy with it, except for that little glue spot on the dash. Even though there's not a ton of different details that are noticeable, it came out nice and clean, so I'm really happy about that. All right, so there we go. Interiors on the chassis. Yes, before you gasp, I'm using super glue on the glass, but I have a plan. I'm out in the garage. I have 2 fans going over here, and I'm going to set it up like this and just let it off gas. I let it sit there for probably about an hour before I mess with it. So I was technically supposed to be cutting grass when I did this, but the lawnmower was giving me trouble. For some reason, wouldn't start. And I think I flooded the carburetor out trying to mess with it and get it started. So I thought, you know what? While that's drying, and while, you know, my big head's in the way there, I don't know why I didn't mask that. Try to do stuff freehand. I got lucky. But yeah, so while I was letting the lawnmower sit, I decided, you know what, I'm going to go work on the Porsche. And then, of course, I get into it and do a lot more working on the model than I do cutting grass. So I did the same thing with the bare metal foil behind those. The headlights I painted because I thought it would look weird if I did the bare metal foil and because it's so curved in there. I thought it might look a little weird. Now's the point where I'm starting to get excited because it's starting to all come together. And now we're putting a windshield wiper on, and if you're putting the wipers on, you're almost done. So I'm really getting excited now because I can't wait to see this thing finished. Just hoping nothing else goes wrong along the way. Door handles are separate, so I was able to paint those. So that was a nice touch. I didn't have to pin the mirrors. They already had a spot for them, but I guess with the 5 coats of paint, it got a little bit thick on there, so had to kind of squeeze them in a little bit. But they went and they held. This side almost didn't even need the glue, it was in so tight, but glued it anyway. There we go. It's all coming together. So one thing I almost forgot was the wheels. I did strip them because the paint on them looked a little weird. So I'm hitting them with this all-clad gloss black base. I kind of like it as a primer underneath the silver kind of paints. This is Tamiya flat aluminum. Luckily that all-clad dries very quickly as well. For some reason I cannot get the camera to focus on these wheels. This is the best one of the 4 that I'm showing you, and yeah, I just didn't want to focus on them. Alright, so next day, getting the wheels put together. Here we go, just a nice painted silver wheel. Got our license plates. I know HPI likes to use these silver Sharpies for window trim, but I like to use them on the license plates to make them look like they're actually metal. Alright, last little thing and we can put this car together. Couple emblems. And there she is. So really happy with how this one came out. The trunk slash hood is, or was, able to open and close, but as I was messing with the hinge stuff to put it in, it broke in half on me, and half of it went flying somewhere, and I have no idea where it went. So I ended up gluing it on. So I showed you one mistake I made. Here's the other one. Right on the hood, you're going to see this ugly spot. Right there by the right headlight. Well, that was... We have like hard water where we live, and it gets like water spots, the white water spots. Well, when I cleaned the car off, I missed that spot. And I didn't even see it until after the clear coat was down. So, is what it is. It is very noticeable on the shelf, but it is what it is. You can see the trunk, as I said, it's slightly darker shade, but luckily it's constantly in shadow from the spoiler. You can see a little bit of the intake through the grill there, so, but I did glue that trunk on. It wouldn't stay otherwise because that hinge was missing. But yeah, super happy with this one. Even with the flaws, I'm very excited. Got a nice shine on it. It looks good on the shelf. Yeah, very happy with it. My first Porsche build. As much as I love these cars, I've never built a model of one, so here we go. It's done. So thanks to the guys putting on this build. Thanks everybody for hanging out with me and watching this. We got some pictures here. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And we'll catch you guys in the next video.